Welcome, everyone. We are so happy to have you here. Feel free to jump in the chat and say hello to someone new. Our participant list is growing so quickly.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how many people are here early on a Friday morning. So good morning, everyone.
Very exciting. I love how many people are ready to learn. We might get 100 participants in the next minute or so.
That's awesome.
Very exciting. Jason is still waking up in the chat. The whole state comes to VSTE. That's right, Karen. The whole state comes. I love it.
I'm still waking up too, Jason. We're gonna get through
Got
this
my
stuff.
coffee.
Yeah.
For those just joining in, feel free to jump in the chat and say hello. We've got lots of people sharing who they are and where they're from. So happy to have you here on day 3 of VSTE.
All right, ladies. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hi, can everyone hear me? All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Chanel Alfred Campbell. I'm honored to be a VSTE board member, and I'm especially honored to be the host for today's session. Today, we have Ms. Barbara Huth from Common Sense Media. She's presenting on engagement strategies for today's hybrid or distance learning classroom. This is going to be an exciting day. It's a fantastic Friday. Barbara, take it away.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen right now. Let's see, and I'm going to present. So today we're going to be talking about engagement strategies for reimagined classrooms, because this year our classrooms look different than they have in the past. So I'm going to share the presentation link if you haven't already checked it out. It is now in the chat, and it's also at the top of the screen. It might be helpful to you to have the presentation open just so you can pop on some of the activities that we're going to do this morning, but we'll also try to share the links in the chat as they come up as well. So as we're getting started, just a little background about myself. I am the DC Metro Education Program Manager for Common Sense. So I'm relatively local. My contact information is here. We're going to go through a lot in a really short amount of time. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay. And just a little background about Common Sense before we get started. We are a nonprofit that rates, educates, and advocates to provide, digital well-being for students everywhere. So today I'm going to share some of our resources that we have for you. I'm also presenting tomorrow specifically on our digital citizenship curriculum if you're interested in learning more about that. Okay. And so our big takeaways this morning is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to discuss the current educational landscape and just share engagement strategies. And I'm going to try, to engage you as much as I can at 8 a.m. on a Friday morning. And that's one of my favorite things about ISTE is just us sharing strategies together and getting a chance to collaborate and talk. And then we're going to introduce a couple strategies. Given we only have a half an hour, I'm going to introduce 2 strategies that encourage collaboration and discussion, and we're going to actually model a couple of them as well. And then finally, I'm just going to show you where you can find Common Sense Education's ratings and reviews and give you a takeaway with some additional engagement ideas. All right, so just as we're getting started, we know that we're all kind of teaching in different environments. Some of us may be doing distance learning or remote learning. Some of us may be in a hybrid model or teaching concurrently. And some of us may be teaching in person. So, just thinking about all the different environments that we might be teaching in and just what are some engagement strategies that are working, right, for our students. So as we're getting started this morning, I just wanted to see what is everyone's current teaching and learning model. Are you teaching in person? Are you hybrid? Are you concurrent? And we're going to use Mentimeter to answer this question. So You can either go to menti.com and enter in the code there, or I also put in the QR code that you can take your phone and use your camera on your phone, and it should open up, and you should be able to see the Mentimeter and be able to answer it. And so there's only one space right now, but if you are having like multiple models right now, you can submit more than once. And I see that that Rod put in the Mentimeter code, the direct link into the chat. So thank you so much for that.
Engage your audience.
Okay, so as we are filling those in, we can see where we are as a group, and I can see that 106 of us have submitted, now 110, so we're getting close. We'll give everyone just a couple more seconds to answer. But it looks like we're all kind of having, different models. Some of us are hybrid, some of us are virtual or remote and distance, and some of us are in person, right? And so I think one of the big things today is just really talking about engagement strategies that can work in all of these different environments. Okay, so going back to this. So now that we kind of just set the stage of, what teaching and learning environment we're experiencing, how is everyone feeling about student engagement this year? So if you could answer in the chat, whatever scenario best describes how you're feeling about student engagement. So you can choose one of the letters. You can choose multiple ones. Sometimes I feel like I'm A, and then other times I might feel like D. I love an F. I feel like today, that last Bitmoji, or sorry, not Bitmoji, that last GIF, that's what I feel like today at this VSTE. So I appreciate all of you this morning. Great. So I'm seeing a lot of B's and C's right here, like Bueller. Is anyone there? Am I talking to a blank screen? I'm getting really excited if I have a student that's responding. Great. So kind of experiencing different things here. So how can we encourage more student engagement? What are some things that we can do? And, we know that teachers want feedback, and this year, just, talking to a blank screen isn't as motivating. Like, we love that feedback. That's really how we continue, and we spend a lot of time making our lessons and, creating these things that we really want to hear from our students, that really drives us to go forward. And, many teachers are doing a lot of things to engage with their students and get them engaged. And everyone's seen, like, teachers that have started putting stickers on their face just every time a student participates, which, we really want that student feedback. So, one thing that we can do to start off is just build an engagement language, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be that we're talking synchronously on camera, right? What are some additional ways that we can have student engagement? So I just wanted to share a few alternatives to student camera feedback as we get started. So the first thing we can do is encourage students to use the chat as we're doing today, and then also to use Zoom reactions or just reactions in the platform that you're using. We can also indicate video use for short bursts. So like when we are doing a presentation, a lot of times if you don't need students to have their camera on during that time, it's Zoom fatigue is real, and just like seeing yourself all the time can get really exhausting. So maybe just like as we're going to break out in small groups or do something like that, we could have camera on for a short period. Another idea is maybe so you don't feel like you're talking to a blank screen is have some, your students upload a photo, a profile photo, or a photo of their cat or dog, or something, just so you don't feel like you're talking to a blank screen. And then encourage audio responses. So have them raise their hands and then encourage audio responses where you can as well. And then also just use additional response tools like Mentimeter. We just did that this morning. Nearpod, Padlet, have those multiple choice questions in, in your presentation where students can use the chat and respond and give you feedback. And just some things that we don't want to do, right? We don't want to give extra credit to kids for turning on their video, or remove them for not turning on their video, or give them participation points, right? For not having their video on. Just, as we're in these remote environments, if students can't have a background, they're basically exposed to like their entire, they might not be comfortable having their video on. And right now it's 8 in the morning. Okay, so we are going to, speaking of that, we're going to try something here and try a breakout discussion. And in this breakout discussion, we're going to move into small groups. And I'm going to attempt to put us in about groups of 3 to 4. And in those breakout discussions, I would love for you to get a chance to share some strategies that are working. Now, I know it is 8 in the morning and some of us may not feel comfortable turning on our camera. So if you do feel comfortable in your small breakout room, turning on your camera, please do. But if you don't, maybe use your voice and unmute yourself in your small group and share your strategy. Or if you're not comfortable with your camera off or unmuting yourself, maybe just use the chat to engage with others. And we're just going to be in there for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to come back and learn some additional strategies. So, and if you want to stay in the main room as well and kind of discuss there, you can do that as well. So I am going to attempt to break us out. And it's going to break us out to about 5 to 6 participants per room. And then it should automatically bring you back into the main room after that's over. So here we go. Okay, so you should see something to have you break out. Okay, so I'm seeing most people have reached their breakout rooms. If you have not, if you need any assistance, please feel free to ask. If you're still here with us in the main room, feel free to use the chat to share some strategies that are working for student feedback. Taylor, let me see if I can move you to a breakout room. Taylor, I think I just moved you to a breakout room. It should let you join now. Great, and I see Megan shared lots of our teachers using direct messaging in Schoology for feedback, and that's working. Any other strategies for the group that's within this room right now? Anyone find any tools that are working really well for? That's totally okay, Megan. You don't have to turn off your mic or turn on your mic. Feel free to just use the chat and share. But are there any other tools or things that are really working in our main group here? Ooh, Flipgrid. Yes, I love Flipgrid. Has anyone else used Flipgrid in this group? Okay. And we're going to actually show an example using Flipgrid in just a little bit. I see someone posted that they love Nearpod for feedback. Yes, Nearpod is great. And I love how you can do things asynchronously or synchronously, and how you can pop in a question as well. And then I see another example that they're using Google Forms and Jamboard, which we're actually going to try Jamboard as well this morning. Okay, so we're going to start bringing people back from their breakout rooms. Ooh, Jamboard lags at times, so we will find out this morning with this group if Jamboard is lagging. Okay, so people are starting to come back from their breakout rooms. Hopefully we had a good discussion within our small groups. And I'm seeing people come back. Ooh, and I see Seesaw and Desmos, great ideas for engagement and student feedback. Okay, and the breakout rooms will be closing in about 20 seconds. People are finishing up their conversations. All right, and I'm seeing everyone's coming back in. So hopefully you all had a good discussion. I know it's really quick. This is one of my favorite things about VSTE and about these kind of conferences is just the ability to share strategies with others. So I appreciate you all, trying it early on a Friday morning. And I just wanted you all to maybe share a Zoom emoji that describes your breakout discussion. So this is going to be under the reactions feature. So if you go to more, you should be able to see reactions, and you might not have as many choices as me if you haven't updated your Zoom, but maybe share a reaction of just how your breakout discussion went. If you can't find the reactions, feel free to share a reaction in the chat, but I'm seeing a lot of thumbs ups. That's great to see. I'm seeing some celebrations. Hopefully you got a chance to share a strategy, and also you got a chance to learn something new from your peers. So perfect, great. Okay, thank you all so much for engaging in that activity. Okay, so let's talk about some specific strategies. And, a lot of times we think that we have to create something new, but really we just want to start looking at what are our go-to strategies? What do we do normally that really got our students excited? And then just maybe put a little twist on it, just something really small that can change that strategy and make it work in whatever environment we're now teaching in. So today, I'm going to talk about two strategies for collaborating and processing new information. And they're just, really simple changes to collaborating and processing. So when I'm thinking about how can we get students to process new information and articulate their ideas with their learning community? Well, one of the big things that we like to do is to do think, pair, shares, right? And think, pair, shares may look a little different in a distance environment, right? Or a hybrid environment, or if we can't actually get close together in a classroom. So what's a way that we could do that? Well, maybe we could use a Flipgrid and do a think, pair, share. And there's a lot of other tools that we could use too, but I'm just going to show you an example with Flipgrid. And then how can we get our students processing and sharing information? Well, let's do a sticky note brainstorm, right? A lot of times we used to do brainstorms in class and groups, but how can we do that no matter what our learning environment is? So we're going to try it with a Jamboard. So we're going to actually try that one this morning. So the first one I want to show you is just how can we do a think, pair, share with a Flipgrid. So let's use an example from a common sense video, like who are you on social media? And so we'd have our students watch the video, Who Are You Online? And then afterwards, we'd have them record a response to the prompt. So they would create their own Flipgrid video. And then we would have them pair up. And so they would have a partner that they would watch their partner's response. And then they would respond to that partner's response with another video. So basically, they would be thinking on their own, replying to that video, and then responding to their partner. And then in that video, you could have them, talk about something they noticed that was similar to their response, and then something that was different as well. And so if you're interested, I did put a link just to the Flipgrid. There's no responses here, and don't feel like you have to put a response, but you can see, like, you can put the video right in Flipgrid, and then students can record their responses within the Flipgrid if you haven't used it before. Okay. So let's look at a second example, and that's a sticky note brainstorm using Jamboard. So if you've used Jamboard before, it's a Google extension, and it's just a quick whiteboard where you can share sticky notes. It integrates with Google Drive. You can actually write on it, a lot of different things. And so we're gonna try an example in just a minute, but I wanna show you what this looks like. So it just looks like this. It's pretty simple. And you can actually add a sticky note, and I can type in that sticky note, my idea, right? And then it will just save here. I can also add things from my drive if I wanted to. I can add text, I can draw, and then I can also erase that drawing. But you can do a lot of things on here. So I want to just give this a try and share a collaboration or communication strategy that you have used this year on a Jamboard for the grade level you support. So I've created 4 Jamboards because Jamboard only holds about 50 responses. So depending on your level, you can go to your Jamboard. If for some reason you cannot add to that Jamboard, I've created an overflow Jamboard where we can share ideas as well. So if you want to go to your Jamboard of your choice, and you should be able to enter the whiteboard and be able to share a strategy. And I'll start putting the links to these Jamboards in the chat as you guys are doing that as well. Okay, so I just put the elementary Jamboard link. I'm putting the middle school Jamboard link in the chat as well. And I see lots of strategies coming up. And so maybe
Barbara,
it was a strat.
There was a question in the chat. Sorry to interrupt. There was a question in the chat. If you're not a Google school, can you use Jamboard, or is there an easy workaround with it?
So I'm not sure, like right now you don't have to be signed into Google to be on the Jamboard. But I'm not sure, like in terms of like school, if things are blocked in school, then it may not work. But you could do the same thing with like a Padlet or a different tool. So it's not really about the tool, it's more about the function of the tool. So I'm just giving an example of using Jamboard right now, but there are many other whiteboard tools that you could use and replace if Jamboard doesn't work for your school district. And actually, I'm going to show you the ratings and reviews at the end of this, where you can look up other whiteboard tools that will have the same or similar functionalities as Jamboard. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of great strategies coming out. You can see in high school, and hopefully you guys can go back to these strategies later. I also see some people drawing. I love that. And then we can also see lots of strategies for elementary. Some great things coming in, and hopefully we can go back to this after this session since it's such a quick session. Right. Wonderful. Okay, given our time, I'm going to go forward, but please feel free to continue to add strategies there. So let's go to the next strategy. So one of the biggest things I love doing is having time for people to discuss, to take perspectives from others, and just really get that time for students to have, time to express their voice, right? Give student voice within the class. And so what are some ways that we can do that if we're presenting remotely, if we're, hybrid, it doesn't necessarily matter. What are some different ways that we can do this? So 2 strategies that I'm going to show you this morning. The first one is, how can we do a short debate with Mentimeter? And tomorrow I'm actually going to show you how to do like a comprehensive thinking routine using Mentimeter and some other tools as well with our digital citizenship curriculum. So if you're attending the conference tomorrow and want to know more, feel free to join my session. And then I'm going to also show you like a tool that can break down debates even further and students' ideas even further as well with Kialo EDU.
Excuse me, Barbara. This is Chanel from VSTE. This is your 5-minute warning.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're going to try a short debate, and I wanted to just keep this light because it's early, but we're going to do a Mentimeter, and I actually need to change the slide on the Mentimeter. So let me get to that. So we're going to do a really quick debate on the same Mentimeter we used earlier this morning. You may see that your presenter has changed the slide, but do you agree or disagree with this statement? The book is always better than the movie. So you should see a slider bar, and you should be able to move that slider bar to where you fall in that line on that Mentimeter. And then if you can, and you have a rationale with an example, share that in the chat. So I see that Megan shared that it is always better than the movie. But yes, any rationale that you want to share for why you chose where you stood in the line. That's not a question, it's a known. Right? Almost always with very few exceptions. Great. Okay, so I just want to show you what this looks like. So here's a really great way just to see anonymously where everyone's perspective is, that we can see that we have a wide range of perspectives in the room, right? And then have a discussion about it. So that's just a really quick tool. You can see the average, and then just also where everyone is as well on that line. So we're skewing towards strongly agree in this group. Okay. And then finally, we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to show you really quick the other tool, Kialo EDU. Let's say we wanted to break down that question even further, or break down a complicated question where there's more pros and cons to something. So here is like an example of like how students decide if technologies are worth it, and they can kind of go in and break down the pros and cons of each. And then as they go further, you can add more pros and cons and break them down even further. The one thing about this is you have to be signed in. So you don't have to be signed in to view it, but you have to be signed in to add to it. And this particular tool for that feature is free, but it's a freemium. So there are certain features that I think that there's a cost to as well. Okay. And then as I am leaving you this morning, I shared a lot of tools in a short period of time. And I think it's just basically what this session is about, but it's not about the EdTech tool. It's really about the rationale for using it. So I wanted to leave you with some EdTech ratings and reviews just to see how other teachers are using these tools, that there are many other tools and strategies and things that you can use in replacement of certain tools. These are just some ideas to get you thinking. And here you can go to the rating and review of each of the tools that we used this morning. You can see what grades they're good for. And then also like how you can teach with it, what it is it good for learning? And then my favorite part is what teachers are saying about the tool and how they're using it with their students. So you can see some of their reviews as well. So all of those are hyperlinked here, and then you can actually see all of the ratings and reviews at the top. And then finally, I wanted to leave you with some additional online engagement ideas. So here is another resource that's linked to even more resources about ways to engage your students online or off. And here are just some additional resources.
Excuse me, Barbara.
Well.
It's Chanel. This is your 1-minute warning.
Great, thank you. So I just wanted to stop for any questions, if anyone has any questions. And I know that was really fast for a Friday morning in a half an hour, but I hope that you learned something new and that you can go back here and see some more ideas from all the great ideas that you shared in those Jamboards. I'm really excited to go dig into those later. And here's my contact information again. And if you have time, I do have a survey. I would love your feedback. I'll drop that in the chat. And then the last thing I wanted to leave you is just a little gift. Is if you love my background, we have these Zoom backgrounds with our digital citizenship characters. So I'm gonna put that in the chat as a little swag gift, e-swag gift for you. And you can have one of these backgrounds.
All right.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Please give her a virtual round of applause. This was an amazing presentation. Thank you so much for joining us on this fantastic Friday. Tamara put in the chat the Discord link. Please feel free to continue that conversation there. And everyone have an amazing weekend. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all so much.